Well, good morning and welcome back to Vermont. So I'm standing beside the CAT RP12000E Generator. Did a video recently on changing the oil and air filter on this generator. There's one more thing in my case that I'd like to tune up before I get ready to roll through winter. And the problem, excuse me, the problem I'm having with this generator is I think it's the low idle setting. It runs fine most of the time, but there's a switch here. I'll show you a close-up. Toggles the generator down to a fuel saver mode. So if there's no electrical demand, it'll reduce down to an idle to save gas, and then it'll spring back into full RPM when the load electrical demand returns. Well, if I have that on, in my case, after the electrical demand goes away, the generator returns to what should be idle, but it just returns all the way down to zero and shuts itself down. So that's not very convenient. So I think that's what's going on. Let me give you a short video. I'll show you just what it is. So here's that switch I was talking about. You know, the rabbit for when you want the engine to run full speed. You toggle it to the turtle when you want it to come down to an idle, and it'll do so when there's no electrical demand. So that's the switch I was discussing. Okay, see if I can point to it. It's right there on the end of this stick, right above this stick. And it's very difficult to adjust the way this generator is built so compactly. So I think what I need to do, the easiest thing to do, you need to remove the air filter assembly, which we talked about earlier, which is right here. And okay, so the tools, well, the process to make this repair, again, you're going to need to come over to the air cleaner assembly. All of your work's going to be done right in here. You remove this cover and the air filter assembly, as shown in a prior video. The tools, the only tools you need for this, a stubby Phillips and a smaller quarter drive will work. Ratchet with a 10mm socket. Again, you got to reach up over this air filter assembly and spin off the retaining cap. Once you get that cover removed, don't forget to remove this washer so you don't lose it. Take that, pull this filter off. Okay, now inside here, you're going to take your Phillips, pull out this screw, one on each side, here and here, and then reach in back with your 10mm driver and screws out. I've loosened, and I've also been in here with a 10mm socket and pulled these out. So of course you don't want to drop these. Right down here is the hole, the air inlet for the engine. You don't want to drop any parts in there. That'll be a challenge to get out. You could use a magnet or something like that. But let's just be careful and not do that. Pull these out. Okay, get these parts out of there. There we go. Pretty good room. You don't. There's an air line, maybe like a rebreather from the fuel line here. So you don't need to disconnect that. You can just turn this assembly sideways, and then there we are. We've got access to the screw right now. So I'm sorry I don't have any videos for you where I'm actively adjusting that idle control screw with the engine running. I had difficulty with the cameras, but you can imagine how that process goes. So what you'll want to do is make those adjustments. Be close with your screwdriver. Be ready to adjust that screw clockwise to raise the idle level, counterclockwise to reduce the idle level. And as you toggle that switch back to idle, it'll take a second or two. Be ready with the screwdriver so you can fine tune it as you go. You'll want to keep the air filter in place over that inlet assembly that's swung out of the way, so that after you make the adjustment, you can swing that assembly back over the air inlet to the engine, because that changes the dynamics of how the engine will run at idle. So do that process several times. Be sure of it before you put it all back together. So after you've made all your adjustments, test it and test it again. Make sure your engine's warm. Been running a while you do these adjustments. That's the way it will be when you're using the generator. Get yourself some sort of load, like a heat gun I've got here, or a drop light, or a drill, something, and give it a test. Going from idle to calling for energy, going back to idle, calling for energy. Do it a few times. I want to demonstrate that we've made adjustments as just described, and you can see the improvement. So I hope that helps some of you with this generator and how to adjust the idle and resolve the problem that I was having. Have a great day, and as they say, welcome to Vermont. Thank you for visiting. Let's go for a walk.